Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Local Love Live. I'm your host, Justin Young. I'm a San Francisco-based artist and founder of Musepop. We are broadcasting this live from the Musepop studio in the Bayview district of San Francisco. All of our guests, as well as our broadcast engineer, are joining us remotely from their respective shelters, as we are still in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. As promised, in the spirit of Circus, I said we would do something that's never been done before in the history of the world. Well, what is that, you ask? I've created a virtual clown car, and toward the end of our broadcast, we are going to publish the number of our Zoom connection, and we will try to cram as many circus performers and circus lovers as technically possible into the car as we take a trip around the internet. Call your friends, call your family, tell them to tune in and come along for the ride. Quickly, I would like to tell you about our quarantine project, Local Love. Local Love is a project my group created to support and showcase San Francisco Bay Area artists working in any medium during the COVID-19 pandemic. We launched the project on March 23rd, and we are in our 6th week of presenting online exhibitions. We publish new exhibits every Monday on our site, and you can view the current exhibit as well as past ones by logging on to musepop.io/locallove. We have over 50 local artists and groups on our website, and we think it's the premier destination if you want to directly support local artists. All artists and groups receive 100% of payments and donations on the site. This is our 4th week of producing Local Love Live. Each week is a new theme with new artists, and we have a diverse group of artists and topics on our archives, which you can find at musepop.io/locallove. As for me, I've really enjoyed bringing these discussions to the public, as it's something that I think is lacking across American culture. I think it's very rare that we get to sit down with local artists in a talk show style format and hear about their process and practice. This is a program I plan to continue, so please reach out to me directly if you have any ideas for future shows. You can reach me at connect@musepop.io or just log onto our website and navigate to the contact section. Thank you all for joining us. I'm very excited about the show today, as we have 3 unique perspectives on Bay Area circus and performance art. The Bay Area has an extremely rich tradition of contemporary circus, the most famous being, of course, the Pickle Family Circus, which was founded in the mid-1970s by Peggy Snyder and Larry Pisoni. Snyder and Pisoni evolved out of the San Francisco Mime Troupe, a group that was founded in 1959 and is still active today. The Pickle Family Circus had a large influence on the American circus movement and contemporary circus in general. They have influenced countless groups and troupes like Cirque du Soleil. You've probably heard of them. They're a little circus group based out of Montreal, who is currently the largest contemporary circus producer in the world. I would also like to highlight that Pickle Family Circus members Wendy Parkman and Judy Finelli opened the San Francisco School for Circus Arts in the mid-1980s, and it was renamed the Circus Center in 2001. The Circus Center offers classes for every level of ability in flying trapeze, acrobatics, aerial arts, contortion, juggling, and many other disciplines. The Circus Center has been featured in our Org Love Gallery since March 23rd, and you can support them by going to thecircuscenter.org. They are also currently offering online classes. All of our guests today have no doubt set foot into and probably shed a few tears in the Circus Center, as one of our guests is an instructor at the school. That being said, I would like to welcome in our guest. Today, I am joined by Dwoira Galilea. Dwoira is a San Francisco-based multidisciplinary circus performer who specializes in contortion, hand balancing, and aerial arts. In normal times, you can find Dwoira teaching aerial at the San Francisco Circus Center, and currently she is hosting a variety of online classes. Welcome, Dwoira. We are also joined by Stephanie Haber. Stephanie is a San Francisco-based aerial artist who performs professionally and manages the Golden Gate Dolls. She joined Acrosports' Fame City Circus performance troupe at the age of 16, where she learned the disciplines of cord and silks. Welcome, Stephanie. And finally, we are joined by Natalie Rhae. Natalie is a San Francisco-based circus and performance artist who specializes in pole dancing and contortion. Natalie is formerly a competitive gymnast and has toured extensively, both nationally and internationally. Welcome, Natalie. So we're going to play a few video clips in a moment, but I want to remind our audience that we are trying to raise money for the artists. And so, Kristen, if you could bring up our call to action graphic. If you guys have any spare money, anything that you can offer the artists, we would greatly, greatly appreciate that. I know times are tight, but if you could throw some digital transactions at the artist, that would be great. We've set up some easy links so you can check out and further explore the artists. And I've also put those in the Twitch chat at the top. So now we are going to play a video from the artist Dwoira Galilea. That was a clip from, I believe, the Kaleidoscope show for Circus Bella. And Dwoira, we are going to talk to you in depth about Circus Bella later on in the show. But first, can you talk to us in depth about how you got started in circus and what you are currently focused on in your artistic practice? Thank you.
Thanks, Justin. Well, I got started in circus first with rhythmic gymnastics from age 9. And I competed in that for about 4 years. And I was not very good, but it gave me a good, healthy start to training. And I was working under a Russian coach with amazing gymnasts. And so it gave me my first kind of knowledge about lines and discipline training. And then when I was 11, I started going to a circus summer camp. And so I trained at that summer camp for 6 weeks every summer from age 11 till 17. And then at about that time, I was at the turning point of whether or not I wanted to pursue circus professionally. So I went to college for 1 semester and decided that I did want to give circus a try while I was still young enough to really give it a try. And so I went first to Brattleboro to go to the New England Center for Circus Arts, their first year of the professional program. And then I stayed there for about 9 months before moving to San Francisco to start training here at the San Francisco Circus Center in 2007. And then I've been chipping away at it ever since. And at the San Francisco Circus Center, I train contortion and hand balancing and different aerial arts, tissue and hoop. And right now, artistically, there's been some transition to virtual shows, but a lot of kind of costuming work and behind the scenes things that I can't always do when the real life showtime is happening. So it's been an interesting transition period, but I've also started teaching online stretching and conditioning classes and handstand classes. So that's what's been keeping me busy these days.
All right, great. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us. Next, we are going to play a slideshow from the artist Stephanie Haber. And then we're going to let her talk a little bit about it. All right, we just saw a bunch of wonderful photos of Stephanie Haber performing in venues all over the place. And Stephanie, same question for you. Please tell us in depth about how you got started into circus and what you're currently focused on in your artistic practice.
Absolutely. Thanks, Justin. So, growing up my entire life, I've always had a passion for performing. I started really young in dance, gymnastics, and cheerleading, but it was never quite enough. And when I was 15, I was on a sailing team in San Francisco. I was born and raised here. And they taught me how to competitively rope climb. And for some reason, I just had such an affinity for it. I loved climbing ropes and racing, and that's all I wanted to do. And then one day, my mom took me to a circus in San Francisco. It was the Acro Sports City Circus theater production, and I saw a girl performing on a rope. And in my chair, right then and there, everything clicked for me that that's what I'm supposed to do with my life. And I still feel the same as I did that very day. So what happened was I begged my mom to call that same circus and let me join, even though I had no prior experience with aerial arts. And for some reason, they let me in and they ended up teaching me everything. I went on to perform with them and realized that's what I wanted to do even after high school. So I'm very grateful to have had that start and been able to learn with some really amazing artists that I look up to and still get the privilege to call my friends to this day. Um, that's a little bit about how I got started. For now, when I'm not eating ice cream and spending 6 hours on TikTok every day, I'm trying to use this time to improve my back flexibility and focus on handstands a bit more. I've also been taking a lot of Dora's classes, they're amazing, and just trying to make the most of this time in quarantine.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Did you want to share your TikTok handle with people if you are using it a lot? You don't have to if you don't want to.
Same as Instagram. I think it's
Same as Instagram, which is below on it's on Stephanie's show card there, her overlay. So go give her a follow at TikTok. I'm sure she's making lots of fun videos. Next, we are going to show you a clip from the artist Natalie Rhae, and then we're going to let her talk about it. All right, a lot of amazing clips there from the world of Natalie Rhae. Same question for you, Natalie. Talk to us a bit about how you got started in circus and what you're currently focused on now in your artistic practice.
Right. Thanks, Justin, for having me and all of us. So I started in gymnastics when I was 4 years old, just doing, your recreational gymnastics. And then when I was about 8 years old, I started competitive gymnastics. And I just, I fell in love with the sport, and it took me through to my sophomore year of college. And when you're 19 years old and trying to do backflips, a lot of it really does wear down on your body. So I was kind of searching for what would make me be able to keep up with fitness, but also make me happy. And because I loved being upside down, I love flipping and doing a lot of fast dynamic moves. So my friend took me to my first pole dancing class, and it was right up my alley. I immediately fell in love with it. And it was very, very hard at first, but I just stuck with it and I became pretty good at it. And that led me to meet amazing people in the circus world, in the dance world, and even in the theater world. And I got my friend Kirsten Girding introduced me to the Vaudeville Society and to Mike and Shannon. And I never looked back. I jumped in head first, and I got partnered up with Miguel Balderrama, who was my base for hand-to-hand partner acrobatics for 4 years. And within that time, he wanted me to become more flexible because I wasn't as flexible as I am now. And so I started seeing Searchma Bayamba in contortion and Leslie Tipton for handstands and other contortion needs. And the rest is history. I mean, I've been able to make a living off of that, and it's just been a wild ride. So, as for what I'm doing right now, I'm doing a lot of teaching um, and some privates, teaching contortion privates, hand balancing privates, as well as working on my own hand balancing. I have this very determined goal to get my one arm consistent, my one arm handstand. So that's what I've been focusing on, as well as spending time with my family, who I never see, and now I get to spend months on end with them. So it's actually kind of a blessing in disguise. So
Yes, well, thank you so much for sharing, and thank you to all the artists. I look forward to exploring in the next 30 minutes or so, lots of your work here. And I'm going to pull up our show graphic again and remind everyone that we are trying to raise money for all the artists here. And if you can, please give them some support. And just want to remind you too that we are going to be doing a virtual clown car, and everybody in the audience is invited. So just hang tight, and towards the end of the show, we're going to publish our Zoom details and bring you all into our call, and we're all going to travel around the internet together in a clown car. It should be a lot of fun. And so next, I would like to talk to Dwoira a little bit about your work with Circus Bella. Can you tell me a little bit about the history of Circus Bella? And I've really enjoyed seeing their shows. I brought my family to one of their shows last year, and where you performed, and we had an amazing time. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes, I can. So Circus Bella has been, this is their 12th year. And my first season with them was in 2012, where we did a contract in Japan at a Dutch theme park for 3 months outdoors in the winter. And so that was a really crazy experience. But before that, Circus Bella has been offering free circus tours in the parks in the Bay Area parks in both San Francisco and Oakland and Marin. And so every summer through June and July, they offer the same show in all these different parks, and it's free and open to the public. And then the Kaleidoscope show that you came to see on Treasure Island was Circus Bella's first ticketed show. So it was a tent show, and it was the first time that they had done admission that was not free. And so that was a really exciting branch out to be able to do both of those things. And it's my 8th year with them. primarily as the contortionist, although when we were in Japan, I did some aerial work as well. But Abigail, the founder, is born and raised in San Francisco, and she grew up with the San Francisco Youth Circus. And so also a lot of San Francisco history there.
Yeah, it feels like they really took you under their wing a little bit.
Absolutely. I was, well, yeah, 2012. So I had moved here in 2007. And so I'd been starting to get more and more professional work from the beginning, but it was between the Vaudeville Society and Circus Bella. I think those have been my two kind of mainstay companies that I really grew up with performing. And, you know, going from green eyelashes and mohawks to a very different look these days, it's definitely been a learning curve that I could not have done having not been taken under a company's wings.
Do you know Circus Bella's website by chance, by heart?
It's circusbella.org.
All right, you guys, go check out circusbella.org. Thank you so much, Dora. Next, I'd like to chat with Stephanie. Stephanie, you run an amazing group called the Golden Gate Dolls. Can you tell us a little bit about them and your experience both managing and performing with them?
Absolutely. So Golden Gate Dolls is a performance troupe within San Francisco. Um, it has been such a blessing to be able to do both sides of it. Obviously, performing is such my passion, but I recently figured out that I have such a passion for the admin side of things as well. I love negotiating, writing contracts, making run of shows, making fun concepts, and also creating costumes, whatever it takes for, you know, any other types of shows. So it's been a lot of fun to work on that and take the business side of what I love doing most live. And so um, also my experience with Circus is such a warm community of amazing people that all look out for each other so much and give each other, you know, so many tips and gigs, and we just all kind of want to bring each other up and see everyone get paid. So the chance to be able to pay some of that forward as well is really amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much. I've met some amazing people in the Golden Gate Dolls, and I think you're doing a great job with it. Next, let's chat with Natalie a little bit. Natalie, I was reading some of your bio materials and I saw that you participated in the prestigious Festival d'Avignon, which is a famous annual performance arts festival held in the French city of Avignon every summer. Can you tell us about that experience and talk about the show that you put on there?
Yeah, absolutely. Spending the summer in the south of France is just a dream come true just because it's amazing. It was very hot that summer. I don't know if you remember the heat wave that happened, but we were staying in a little town just outside of Avignon called Sauveterre, and the Tour de France came right through it. So it was it was a cool experience just to be there during that time. But the festival itself had over 1,600 uh, theater troops, shows, just everyone came into that one tiny, well, it's not tiny, but it's a smaller city than, you know, Los Angeles. So it was just like a very jam-packed cultural experience. And it was so cool to be flyering amongst other performers and trying to almost compete, but very friendly competition of like, come to our show, no, come to our show. And there was a lot happening. But we were very lucky. I went with a troupe called Cirque du Bohème, and there were 5 acrobats. And we were very lucky because we got an entire theater in Sauveterre to ourselves. And so it was really cool because we got to not have to rush in, because a lot of the troops had to rush in and 30 minutes build their set, do their show for an hour, and then 30 minutes strike so that the other troop can come in right after. So we got to have this really nice air conditioned theater, and everyone who worked there were just amazing people and super nice and helpful. The show itself was about San Francisco immigrants right before, I mean, days before the earthquake that happened in the early 1900s. So it was about just you know, establishing your life, and as an immigrant in the in San Francisco, and then having the earthquake just wipe away your hopes and dreams and you having to rebuild on that. So we brought a little piece of San Francisco to Avignon, and that was really, really fulfilling. So
Oh, that's wonderful. I'd just like to remind everyone that Local Love is an exhibit. We do these online exhibits every week, and we have featured all of the artists here. Dwoira was in the first week. Natalie Rhae was, I think, in the fourth week of our exhibits, and Stephanie is in the current week. So let's go ahead and bring up our show graphic one more time so everybody can see those URLs. So all of the things that everyone's been talking about on our show, you can go to these web links and you can explore the artists more in depth. Lots of links to their worlds, to their Instagrams, to their websites if they have them. I'd also like to give a quick shout out to our broadcast engineer, Kristen Sunday. She is a fantastic collaborator, and she has been helping me produce these shows for the last 4 weeks, and I couldn't do it without her. If you do have any spare ka-ching, could you go ahead and hit her at that Venmo address there? And next, I would like to speak with Dora about some of Dora's duet work. Dora, I know you do duets with a lot of people. One of the people you do it with is one of my favorite artists, Chloe Marvelite Axelrod. Shout out to Chloe if you're out there listening. I'd like to play Dora's duet video without sound if possible while I ask this question. Dora, can you describe the process of what it's like to create and train a duet performance with another artist? Thank you.
It's really been an amazing experience getting to work with a partner, especially after so many years as working as a soloist doing contortion. So it's a completely different beast. The relationship you develop between a duo partner really is like a marriage relationship. So there's love and passion, and then there can be intensity and sometimes some, well, heated moments, but it all kind of comes together to create the beautiful product at the end. And I work with both Chloe on Duo Hoop, and then both of us actually work with Stephanie as well, as part of the Golden Gate Dolls, and we do duet work together. So the creation process is it's a lot of figuring out choreography and body shapes that work with two different bodies of different flexibilities or different strengths, and putting that together on one apparatus to make different shapes, whether that's mirroring each other or making asymmetric shapes. So it's very creatively fulfilling, especially being able to work beyond your own body, which as a contortionist, that's what I'm so familiar with. And hand balancing is working with my own shape, but then adding a second body to mine really opens doors for so many possibilities. So it's been one of my favorite things to work with. And especially as I'm getting older, it is more and more fun to be in the air and less fun to be on the ground. So I've been enjoying just getting that kind of sharper and sharper as I go.
Well, thank you so much. We had a slight bit of technical difficulty there, and actually Kristen was just breakdancing at her house, which was hilarious. Unfortunately, you didn't get to see that, but she's actually doing an amazing job, and thank you so much, Kristen. I love you so much. So next, Stephanie Haber, I'd also love to talk to you about your experience working with duets, but I think you're unique in that you've gone through 2 serious injuries during your career, and that's kind of what I'd like to cover with you, if that's okay. You had a car accident when you were 17 and just beginning to find your way in circus, and one more recently that was an accident while performing. Can you talk to us about your experience dealing with and coming back from those injuries? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one was when I was 17. I was in a car accident and broke the T12 in my back. And I was actually supposed to go to circus practice that night. And I was devastated to find out that it was a little worse than I thought. So that actually really shifted my life. I ended up graduating high school, and instead of going on to staying local and building a career with circus, I moved up to the Sacramento area and just kind of took it easy, tried to do the college thing. But sure enough, luckily my back healed and I was brought back to circus a couple years later. So I was very grateful to come back. But that feeling, that devastation of not being able to perform and um, having to watch the shows pass by was huge and such a life altering experience. And I went through it again just recently. I got struck in the head with a spinning lyra in 2017.
And
And
can you what is a lyra exactly?
a lyra is the aerial hoop. It's like
Okay.
a spinning steel bar. Looks
Yeah.
like a hula hoop.
Very
Uh,
heavy, right?
yeah, I didn't think it was anything bad. I was actually not performing, I was teaching at a workshop. And it was on a place I'd never been before. I had never been on that hoop, and everything, it was a moment where I wasn't paying attention as I should have been. And I didn't think anything of it. I kept teaching that night. I even went on to teach the next morning. And so I was like kind of jumbling up my brain a lot. And 24 hours later, I was hit with a pretty traumatic brain injury. And then I suffered for another year and a half with post traumatic uh, concussion disorder. So um, I was unable to go upside down for a quite long time. But of course, dealing with these injuries was such a moving experience. It definitely showed me just how much I love circus, how committed I am to it, and not to never take it for granted. And I can't help but be a little bit reminded of those times during this quarantine and during this pandemic. But I do know so well and so true that it always is better right when you get back. And it's just an experience to remind you of how much you have. So, so much gratitude, so much love.
Yeah, it's great to have you back, and I've just been, so impressed with your work ethic, um, just how hard you've worked to get back, and it's so great to see you performing again.
Thank you.
Um, all right, so we are rolling along, and we've got our connection going here. I hope everybody learned a little bit from that, and thank you for sharing stuff. That was very nice of you. I would like to talk with Natalie Rhae. Natalie has a ton of experience. And Natalie, you've traveled the world and worked in pretty much every circus environment. Can you talk to our audience about what it's like working on more traditional circus shows like Circus Caballero, which uses horses, and performing on cruise ships, which seems to be a very common route for many performers back when cruise ships were a thing. Can you share your knowledge with our audience about the breadth of your contract work? Thank you.
Yes, I definitely can. And I'm sure Dora has a lot to add about cruise ships and traditional circus as well. But from my end and my experience, traditional circus is unlike any other kind of circus in the sole fact that it uses animals, and not just uses animals, but just performs, people perform alongside with their animal, their family member. And I think there's a huge misconception about animals in circus, because from my experience, and I'm only drawing from my experience, I'm not talking about those who have seen animal abuse, because I know it's out there and it's horrible. But from my experience, every animal that I had the pleasure to work with or alongside was treated better than any of the humans on the circus shows. I got to work with elephants and tigers and goats, miniature ponies. I got to ride horses and do contortion on top of a horse. If I meant, I think I mentioned elephants already. Rhinoceros. There's just a whole slew of amazing animals that you would never see and wouldn't have survived otherwise, unless they were in captivity. But you also have to think that when the season is over, they go home, whether it's in Oklahoma or Florida or Connecticut, where these animals, respective animals, resided, and they have acres of open land where they can roam and eat as much as they want and have all the mud baths that they could possibly need. So it's a really important reminder from me to people who don't necessarily agree. You don't have to, but it's these animals that I was able to work with. They were very, very happy and grew up with the families that they were with and performing with. That being said, uh, Dora and I were having a chat about how fun it is to work in between um, the shows, just doing intermission when there's intermissions at traditional circus shows. So we had to face paint and sell cotton candy, and I had the very honorable job of shoveling horse poo out of the ring during intermission. So it's a great juxtaposition of like the glitz and glam next to the dirty work, which is always really fun when you're in your rubber boots and your sparkly costumes with a robe over. Um, as much, and then also you're doing 3 shows a day, at least, sometimes 5, and you're doing 5 acts in each show. Aerial, contortion, horseback riding, showgirl, a dance number. It's endless, and you wonder why you're so tired at the end of the day. As well as cruise ships. Cruise ships are on the other end of the spectrum of like the life of luxury, or it may seem. But when in reality, I was in a tiny little cabin shared with, luckily one of my best friends today, Alyssa Blackledge. Shout out to you if you're watching. But it's a great way to see the world and make lifelong friends, and do fun silly shows. I got to perform on a German cruise line, so everything was in German. So I got to learn a little bit of German along with a little bit of Croatian, and you intermingle with such a wonderful, weird group of people that would never ever else in the world come together except for in that situation. So I loved cruise ship life. Of course, it's hard at times, like any traveling, but the shows are fun, and you get to travel, and if you can maintain your sanity while living in a shoebox, I recommend it for any circus performer. I think everyone should do a traditional circus and a cruise ship at one point in their career.
Thank you so much for your insight. It's funny that you say that. I was doing research for the show, and I found that the Pickle Family Circus Company operated on 3 fundamental principles, which was all decisions were made collectively by the entire group, all members got the same pay, and all performers had offstage jobs. So sometimes you got to shovel poop, I guess, in the circus.
Absolutely. It's the only way in.
But I did like that philosophy when I was doing some research. So we are going to have a clown car party here in a bit. I'm going to ask one more question of our artists before we publish our Zoom call number. And what we're going to do is we're going to send out the Zoom number, the Zoom link. We're going to let everybody join in, and we're going to just cram everybody into this clown car, and we're going to drive around the internet together and have a little party. I think it's going to be fun. So stand by for that. I'm going to do one more question for each. And let's see here. I've got a few more, but we're running a little bit short on time. So let's see here. For Dora, as a performance artist, do you have any specific influences? Are there any people you would like to point to who have helped shape your career or artistic practice?
Yes, I would say from the beginning, my first coaches, Chelsea Bacon, Aidan O'Shea, Laura Whitwer, were all my beginning coaches in New York City, as well as my rhythmic coach, Lucy. And then Circus Bella, Abigail Munn has been a huge influence, Mike and Shannon from the Vaudeville Society, as well as all the traditional circus work that has happened. There's been a lot of different circus families that have become good friends and taught me a lot of different things that I never would have known having not done traditional circus. Also, my other coaches, Leslie Tipton in contortion and Searchma, as well as Elena Panova and Ariel. So influences from all over, and I feel like you can never stop being a sponge and soaking in as much as you can learn from everybody.
All right, thank you. Same question for Stephanie. Do you have any specific influences? Are there any people that you would like to point to who have helped shape your career and artistic practice?
Same as Dora. That was incredible. She definitely nailed it with the list off of everyone, especially shout out to Elena. But definitely growing up being in City Circus, I was always so influenced by the older girls. Just looking at them and wanting to have their life. I just was so enamored by what they did and how they made this to be their life. And I would say that I still uh, see them today. And I honestly am so influenced by my peers, by my friends, and just how we all come together, help each other, and have made such a nice community is so inspiring. And I feel like everyone shares and is so open with their practices and with the skill sharing. So just got so much love for everyone that is in the circus community around me.
Thank you. All right. Same question for Natalie Rhae. Do you have any specific influences? Are there any people you would like to point to who have helped shape your career in artistic practice?
Absolutely. First and foremost, my gymnastics coaches from when I was a teenager, Nicole Langevin and Chris Clark. I would be nowhere without them. My first pole mama, my late first pole mama, Hannah Granados, she ignited the fire in me for pole dancing, and Kirsten Girding for meeting me and introducing me to Vaudeville, to Mike and Shannon, for them for giving me this huge platform to express what I have burning inside of me. Leslie Tipton for changing the game. Searchma Bayamba for being my first contortion coach and making me super bendy. And anyone who's helped me with my one arm handstand, because I'm getting there. There are so many names, and I have stories about everybody, but Dora hit the nail on the head with everything, and as did Steph. And honestly, just watching my friends, everyone who I'm surrounded with by this awesome community, they inspire me daily. And if one of my friends does something super cool, I just kind of want to jump on the bandwagon too. So I'm just inspired by all of my friends. So I'm really fortunate to be surrounded by such a wealth of knowledge and talent. So.
Yep, the Bay Area has a fantastic circus community. All right, so thank you guys all so much for sharing all your insights with me and our audience. And we are going to embrace technology here, and we're going to publish our Zoom details. But first, we have found the duet video. And so while I publish these Zoom deets to our Twitch channel, and if you're on musepop.io/live, click on our Twitch channel button. It's a big pink button that says Twitch, and come on over to the chat room, and I'm going to publish the link to our Zoom connection. You guys are all going to come on in, and we've made a virtual clown car. We're going to have a little party. We're going to drive around the internet. And while we're getting that set up, we're going to go ahead and play that duet piece. And you can go ahead and play that with sound, Kristen, while we do that. And once again, thank you to all the artists. And I am going to go ahead and publish that now. So stand by. All right. So here we go. I just want to remind everyone that we are doing, everybody on our panel today is participating in May Day, which is on May 2nd. And our clown car is filling up. So go to our Twitch, that's twitch.tv/Musepop, and join in the clown car. We're starting to fill up here. Our goal is to get 49 people in this clown car, which is the most that you could do. And I think it would be a world record. So anyway, please go to vaudevirsociety.com/Mayday. That'll be May 2nd. Tickets are $20 and there's 15 interactive rooms. And let's go ahead and start this clown car. All right, so here we go. Let's take a trip through the internet, you guys, in a clown car, a first of its kind. Here we go. I'm excited. Oh, here we are. All right, everyone.
It's not working.
It's starting to. Well, there it goes. I think we just need to scale it a little bit is what we need to do. Maybe make 2 windows of that. First thing. So make another one. Yeah, make 1 window, flip it to the window. Here we go.
clown car still?
Everybody's in the clown car. I think the clown car stopped driving. Oh, it's going really slow. Can you start the clown car over again? In outer space.
Off at the end of.
So, Kristen, go ahead and rotate the window and scale that we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank
Thanks, Justin.
All right. See ya.